Hello and welcome back. We are pleased that you're here to join us. My name is Mary Roseman, joined by Marcella Nietzsche and Heather Wells, my co-hosts here. And we're on the first chapter of the Word on page 32, and we're going to take off where we left off. Um, we're real curious to hear how your days went, your weeks went. Maybe you came immediately to this second part. Maybe you gave some time to ponder and marinate in it. Yeah, so just tell us how it's going. Ask us any questions, and we will have a day of Q&A. So, the last time we were just talking about the two levels of unconscious behavior that we um, practice in on an unconscious level, and the guides are just making us aware and trying to empower us how we can keep our frequencies, our vibrations and energy higher. We spoke about, raising the ceiling. So now they go on to talk about the understanding that you are the Christ and then it can be made manifest is the key. And that's the key to it all. Well, I don't know, y'all. Maybe 30 years ago, someone told me that. Come again? What? So really what they're trying to say to you is it's really all depending on the level of commitment you have to this, right? So um, you know, once the key is in the lock, the door is open and you're on the run because these energetic configurations that are required to bring this into form can be brought to you with your intention to require it. However, if you're kind of lackadaisy about it, well, that's what you're going to get. So, so just know clarity has everything to do with your experience. Yeah. Give an example of something where you might not be real clear about what you want. I'll give an example, and I'm going to use the realtor example again. So when I wanted to find a house, I created a manifestation list and I listed every single thing that I wanted because I was downsizing. The one thing we did not get that was not on the list because my husband would not join me in this list and I didn't put it on the list was he wanted the driveway to be able to go to the backyard. He wanted access for that because we have a boat and we did not want to park our boat in the front. Well, I'm the one that created the list. I got everything I wanted on the list, but he did not because he wasn't committed to this, right? He didn't necessarily believe it. That is what we got, right? Because it was a seller's market at the time. We needed to get into a house. We couldn't wait for, um, and so I'm just here to say, be very clear and direct about everything that you are trying to manifest.
So being wishy-washy spiritually happens often, I think, because on the one hand, we want this growth, we want this, getting advancing in our journey, but on the other hand, we are either not wanting to sacrifice certain beliefs or look at a part that something in ourselves that we're supposed to look at, or develop a spiritual practice, which is very important, imperative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meditation, for example, is I would say it's an important, if not essential, part of any spiritual journey. So, like it says here, once we decree this, that we want our Christ itself, we're on the run. It says this process, you set in motion a process, and once this process is begun, this process continues. You may pause, you may break, you may wander away, and you may wander back, but the evolution of your soul cannot stop itself from forward motion, and your soul already knows that this is the key to your growth.
Right.
So once we say it, it's like kind of, okay, know what you're getting into, right?
You know what my experience is? Even okay, Kabit, I was wishy-washy. Always, I'm the story of when Course in Miracles or Metaphysics first came into my life in 1990. I watched the movie, and I was at the time engaged to a Catholic man with children, and we were planning to get married in the church and have our baby and raise her in the Catholic Church and finish raising the teenagers, right? I had my perfect little picture. And now there I am watching this movie, and I felt to the core in my being, right? This is my path. But there was no way, right? And as I'm driving home after this event, I just said to God, nope, I'm Catholic and I'm going to stay in the church. And this is how I've got my path. Mm-mm, not going to happen. Well, 2 years later, my dad dies, and I had a nervous breakdown. And it's a long process, right? But here's where things turned around for me. Not from the drugs, not from the psychiatrist, not from all the yada yada yada, right? It was when someone handed me the Course in Miracles, a list of books to get. Love is Letting Go of Fear and the Course in Miracles. So of course, y'all, I'm a productive person. I'm a smart person. I'm not a crazy person. And nothing they had given me helped me. So I take these and I read and I read and I read. And then I'm like, and I didn't buy A Course in Miracles at the time because it's like, no, that's that book 2 years ago. I'm staying Catholic, but I'll go ahead and I'll read Love is Letting Go of Fear. Only to find out. And I must have read the book about 5 times before I went and I started researching the author. And it was clearly a Course in Miracles book. And then I'm like, oh. So, what I'm trying to say to you is if that's the path for your soul, whether you walk away from it or not, it's going to catch up to you. And now to this day, I know I'll never have another nervous breakdown again. I just know it. There were just so many things along the way that would have really done me in, but I had this set of tools in which to call on to work with. Um, Now I didn't leave the church for decades or so. And so I just made it all. I made the flow so much more complicated than it had to be.
Mm.
With that said, I had a new set of tools as well. The main point that we're trying to make is if this is for your soul's growth, it's going to happen with your resistance or with the flow of you know, right? Everybody has a choice. It does not take free will away.
But the Course in Miracles says this course is mandatory. The time when you take it is optional, and it doesn't mean that you have to do it through the Course in Miracles, but it's like the
Right.
awakening of like your Christ
You're right.
self is mandatory. That's your destiny. You have to do it at some point. But you get to choose how hard it is or how much resistance, or but you're going to go through it. So may as well
Right.
go through it smoothly. And I think it's amazing what the universe does when we really align our intention with our dedication to really getting on this journey and um, getting higher and higher in our vibration.
Right. So this goes on to say that to be the Christ simply means to be yourself in full realization of your power as a piece of God in action. Yeah. Just kind of marinate in that. You are word. You are an aspect of God being brought forth into light. As you journey, as you access this information, you become Christed in consciousness. And when you become Christed in consciousness, you ascend. When you ascend, your vibrational frequency elevates and aligns in new patterns that cannot hold the old, and the old falls away. As you rise, And when you rise, your landscape changes. Yeah, it changes everything. And that's when I said, for me, I will never have another nervous breakdown again. Right? Just because the new purview is here, right? And I can't change that. It's there now. I'm open. Okay.
And the things that you used to look as things that you needed for your happiness or your peace, you realize that they are like illusions. And then when you focus on the real thing, you realize your peace won't leave you. I mean, it's there all the time, and you can access it at any time. Your happy place is here, and it's not that the circumstances determine how you feel. It's that you realize that how you feel determines how the circumstances, how the situations show up in your life. And that's so empowering.
Yeah, that's cool. And so, beloveds, this is a process. And, we've clearly stated you get to choose it or not. But if you do choose this process, the guides are going on to tell you that there are consequences to this. So we say to you that the process that you're choosing has consequences, and the consequences will make them known. Listen to this part, it's really important. And they will also be your pride, your fear, your loathing of self, and the body releasing in ways that will become apparent. And because these are low frequencies that must disband, that must release, that must go away for good. If you are to light the balloon, the sandbags that keep you tethered are things of a lower frequency that cannot go for a ride. So I will say to you, from my experience, it doesn't have to be, sometimes the crunchies or the triggers, they just come. And it's like, what is this about? I'm so happy. I'm doing so good. I'm meditating. I'm doing all that's happening is the lower frequencies, the lower vibrations that are usually from your old programming are coming up just to be cleared. It's just that simple. But the process of it can be very uncomfortable. But it can be. Okay? It can be. That was I'd like to do a redo because I'm kind of speaking from my experience, right? But Heather and watching Marcella, they don't seem to experience this discomfort that I did. But now I'm more aware. When I start feeling crunched or I'm triggered by something, I know that whatever's going on is just leftovers from yesterday, and it's something that I need to look at, and that it's just coming up to be cleared, right? So the guides are just kind of telling you that's part of this process, right? It's like when you in the springtime when you're getting ready, you weed your garden or you just prepare things, right? Um, so that the plant will have the perfect um, area in which to grow, right? In the rich soil, you weed it, you fertilize it, you tiller it, you get it all ready. And that's essentially what's going on. We're just kind of weeding out all of the old patterns. So now we're on page 34. And we're going to start probably like on now you have invested in these things that control you. And so what the guides are bringing in right now is really just more support and confirmation of what we've been talking about with these things coming up, but they're honing in on different examples of how this happens. Basically, what they're saying is, and I was talking about my resistance. Well, my resistance is because I'm invested in some of these things that control me. Um, like I said, I was invested in the fact that I was marrying a man who was Catholic and I was raised Catholic. There was an investment in it, but it wasn't my soul's journey. And these investments tend to keep us safe and they keep us dormant and they keep us in the illusion of separation. And then, so if you go on to page 35, um, they talk about when we're in the process of ascension and we're rising, the tethers start releasing, and the past self slowly is being discarded, and a new self incarnates in the body that we're in. Okay, so really ponder with us. There are these energetic transitions that are occurring as we agree with this. This starts to unfold behind the scenes, and I don't know, I call that a miracle. It's probably just a very natural occurrence, right? Because Jesus did come to teach us that we were all the Christ. But it's a process that we have to commit ourselves to, and that's what this is all about.
I was going to say, this old self walking away and disappearing, and the new self coming in. I'm hoping that it's understood in a way that is a natural process. It doesn't mean that our personality, our individuality is going to be taken away. In fact, I think at some point they say that's not what we're talking about, right? It's just that as your consciousness vibrates at a different level, your real self is the one that comes, right? Your real self is the one that starts expressing your Christed self. And the other self really wasn't there. It was never, there was an illusion. You realize that it was really made of nothing. And the way you feel, not that I am Christed already, right? But we feel like when our vibration is high, how we feel different. And we could tell when we're in alignment with our higher self, that it's us. It's actually the real us, not a new self that is going to come and make the old one walk away, like a real one walk away, if that makes sense, right?
It does, because we, unbeknownst to us, we have created an illusion, right? And so if I come to you as Mary Roseman, mother of Sarah, wife of Jim, you know what I mean? That's just part of the illusionary part, because I'm not owning the divine that I am, which is primarily what I am. I'm not all of the earthly, titles or and and that's not to say, because they're going to say right away, we're not discounting the physical experience at all. What they're trying to teach us is how to experience the physical in divine Christed form. And if we discount that major part of who we are, which is the Christ self, well, we are living an illusion, because that's not who we are, right? So now we're on page 36, and the guides go on to tell us that we've had many examples of this type of ascension occurring, usually by individuals, Jesus, Buddha. But now they're saying, right now, it's occurring in the masses. And what this period, this divine appointment at this time, is that the collective consciousness, and not just one individual, although one individual can change it, but what's occurring now is we've got people awakening in the masses right now, and that's going to change the collective consciousness. So it's a really exciting time to be, right? The other thing that they went on, okay, now go back to the story when I told you. So there I'm having a nervous breakdown. Now I've called in. I've got the psychiatrist, I got the counselor, I got the drugs. The grief is heavy. I'm not undermining that at all. But what they're saying is, the guides are saying, and it's interesting because nothing worked, right? I did all of that they told me to do. I was the the gold star patient, and nothing worked until I, was giving and handed a different purview in which to look through. And what the guides are saying is, because we're like, I'm going to work through my stuff, and I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to go do that, and I'm going to go do. It really doesn't have anything to do with any of that, right? It has everything to do with really committing and working on your purview, on the way that you see things. And these are my words through the lens of the Christ eyes. And they're calling on you to, right, to accept the fact that you are your Christed self. And from there, expand and do your work that way in which to get to you to that point. You're already there. You just haven't resonated with it. And it's all about frequencies. It's all about aligning. So start ascending away. And it has nothing to do with going to see a counselor and dealing with the leftovers from yesterday. Absolutely nothing. Right? Ah,
Yeah, it's pretty cool when they say they are actually very different from aligning to the Christ consciousness and going on the ride of your life.
right.
I love that expression, the ride of
And
our lives.
right. Yeah. Because when you've been doing something for so long and you feel almost to the point, what's the point in all of this? If you when you get to that and then you get to the other side of that, you're just like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe how much resistance I created that held me back for so long. So marinate in all of that, okay? So beloveds, we're gonna come to a halt right now. We're just gonna ask you to marinate in this material, and uh, we thank you for your patience. And mainly, we're just loving on Marcella because if this seemed choppy to you, I have a cold and I had to take frequent breaks. So thank you for bearing with us and just know and again thanks Marcella for the editing. I appreciate it. So thank you for joining us and we'll see you next time for some more word. Bye bye.
Bye.
So the guides also go on to tell us that what's occurring now is globally. You're here. If you're attending this, if you're reading this, you're answering the treaties, and this is occurring globally. There are a lot of beloveds here that are answering this call and that are seeking to raise, to ascend. And it's a very exciting time of to be here on this planet, right?